So this is Coffee and Donuts, the 100th show, guests show. I've been interviewing Mark, and also Rob, who are the hosts of the show with me. And then now we thought it'd be a good idea to speak to some of the guests, people who've been viewers and then have been on the show and have stood in for us when we've not been around. And someone who's always been a big part of that is Dave DCow from Australia. He's stepped in and kicked off the show on many occasions. He stood in for my set. Sometimes he's always got brilliant sets, brilliant overlays. He's a big fan of the show as well. Viewers love him as well. So let's have a chat. Here he is. Here's Dave DCow. How you
Hey,
doing, mate?
all good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all good, man, all good. Thanks for coming on the show. It's great to have you, and also great to have you as part of Coffee and Donuts. You know, you've been a big part of it, so thank you for that. Let's go to the beginning. So 45 Kings, when did you first sort of become aware of the group and the community and sort of what Rob and Marky were sort of doing?
When Rob invited me to become a member,
Okay.
I literally got an invite from Rob at some point back in time, 3 years ago, or whatever it was, and I joined the group, and it just I watched the group build. So I wasn't part of the first group of members, but I was probably second lot, and I had a very small 45 collection at that point. I maybe had 245s at the most at that point.
Yeah.
I now have actually no, it would have been less. It was probably about 145s at that point. I now have about 500 plus.
Wow.
So
It's
yeah,
amazing the effect it's had on people's record collections. I know I've got, I don't know, I don't even want to count.
you got a lot more than me.
I've got a lot now, and you know, every time I go somewhere, I manage to pick some up. So did you know Rob? Obviously, you're in Sydney now. He's in Melbourne. Did you know Rob from before the group, and how did you know him?
Yeah, so I met Rob through. Rob came up to Sydney to do some gigs through a couple of friends of mine.
Okay.
And I just met Rob through music, just through doing the DJ gigs when he was up in Sydney. And then I've been down in Melbourne, done a few gigs down there, DJ at Rob's 50th.
It
And
doesn't
it
look
was
old
just, it
enough.
was just
Surely
literally
not.
through that. Sorry?
I was going to say, it doesn't look old enough. Surely not 50.
I look 75, but it's all right.
Oh, bless him. He's not here to defend himself, but he can take the banter. He gives it out enough. Cool. Okay, so you knew him before. He'd said to you, "Come and join the group." And at that stage, you know, was it still? You said the sort of second tranche of DJ. Was it still quite small at that stage? The group.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't actually know how many members there was at that point, but I've seen it grow exponentially since then.
Yeah.
You know, there's just under 1,000 members, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And obviously with COVID, etc., and all the lockdowns and the DJs jumping online, that's when I really started to get more involved with it. So I think the first thing I did was do a mixtape.
Yeah.
When Rob was asking, I was very paranoid about it because the records I had were all sort of classic, crackly 60s, 70s soul and funk records.
Right.
They weren't your mainstream records, and I wasn't sure because I couldn't mix them together, and I couldn't blend them or anything like that. And I wasn't sure, and I'd seen a lot of the mixes was all the guys with like thousands of records, and they're gigging every week, and they've got all the edits. They've got all the Dusty Donuts. They've got all Jim Sharp stuff, that kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
just, and I just did it. Eventually I just did it, and I said to Rob, and it went off, and it got positive reactions from people, which was kind of cool. And then from there, I was just obviously through, but just being involved at that point was, I just started buying a few more. Not, I didn't start actively buying massive amounts, but I just bought some more. And then obviously through starting doing the streams that we were doing, I'd been using OBS stuff since probably I've been playing around since about 2016. So I had a background with it prior
Yeah.
to all the COVID, etc. Because I'm a geek, I just like to play around with these technologies and stuff.
Yeah, because one of the things that we did, obviously, with the streaming, is you wrote a stream guide. Because back when we started, people didn't know what OBS was; they didn't really know how
Yeah,
to do anything. And you very amazingly and helpfully wrote this really easy to follow stream guide that we then were able to send out to all our guests who wanted to be on our channel. So that was, a big help, I think, with the Twitch channel and getting everyone started.
yeah. I mean, that was one thing that Rob and I spoke about, was just getting that up and running. And I've assisted quite a few people within the Kings remotely, to get set up with streaming, as best I can help them. I try to do some support as well for people, but like everything, it's pretty difficult when you're not actually in front of that computer, so you don't know
Yeah,
exactly what the settings are.
I know.
I've
I
helped
think,
Rob out a lot.
yeah.
Um,
Because yeah, he struggled quite a lot, didn't he? Because he had some issues. He bought a new Mac M1 Mac, and that didn't really
well,
like. And then he was pretty much ready to give it up. And then he thought, right, okay. And then he got his wife's Windows laptop, I think it was, and then got set up. And then thankfully, he's been able to stream since then. So he's still
yeah.
part of streaming, which is great.
I mean, just in OBS land, Windows is actually better to run OBS on,
Yeah.
because it actually gives you greater control levels over cameras and stuff than what the Mac does. It's just the different drivers that are on the different OSs, really. But yeah, look, some people are more technically gifted than others, and you because I work in IT, I know, it's easier for me to talk through things with people. But I'm used to writing guides, so I just wrote the guide, and I do it step by step. I walk through the whole steps as I do it myself. So it's good that it's helped people, and it's been useful.
Oh, definitely. And it's, we've sent it out, obviously not so much now because a lot more people now are used to streaming. They're on streaming, they do their own channels. But certainly to start with, we were sending it out all the time and people saying this is brilliant because they could literally do it on their computer step by step. And
Yeah.
it works. So, again, massive thanks for that because that's sort of really helped us when we got started early on. So coffee and donuts, then obviously that's our show. When did you sort of first become aware of that? And the actual show?
It would have been through the group, through the Facebook notifications, more than likely. It's been that long now. I honestly can't remember what
Yeah,
the first inkling of it was. I've been involved in it that much now. It's just that
yeah,
I classify myself as not a guest on the show. I'm just someone
yeah.
that rocks up and just plays sometimes. you
You're
know.
you're one of
Um,
our sort of esteemed stand-in hosts. I would probably describe it as, because you kick off the show quite a lot of the times
yeah,
because of being in Australia, and that's very important because that's what Rob used to do the sort of 8 a.m. UK time, which is about 5 p.m. currently in Oz. But then obviously his situation changed, so then the show became 9 a.m. UK time. But then every now and again, I'll say to you, right, do you want to start the show? And you're always happy to jump on. One of the things that stood out for me quite a lot is the overlays you've had. You've had some really cool overlays. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those? How you go about picking those,
yeah.
and what you'd
In the
use for
old
them?
studio days, yeah. And you can see my studio behind me now.
Yeah,
It's not the same. Um, the cameras are not in the same positions, but yeah, the overlays were. I found out about green screening. It was actually through watching DJ Mathematics.
yeah,
Um, One of the first sets of streams that he did, that he had all this like videos in the background, and I was like, oh look, you can do so much more with OBS. So I started playing around with it, and the first few I did was literally just grabbing videos off YouTube and of like break dancers and things like Beat Street, and just snippets of stuff, and just tying it all together in Adobe Premiere and into a longer video, with taking the sound out of them and then just putting them as a background. And I've got a big 3 meter by 2 meter physical green screen, but it's obviously it doesn't really fit in the size of this room. But
Yeah.
I used to do it when I was in my old house. I could do it in the dining area. So it basically sat along one wall, and I had to move all my turntables onto the dining table and reset up. But it works really well. But you got to have specific sets of lighting and stuff to make it work. Like I've got at the back there. I've got two LED lights. There's one on at the moment that they point on me to give brightness from the front.
Yeah.
And what I did after, instead of using the physical green screens, I found a software tool basically that does a virtual green screen.
Because for the physical green screen, you have to light that as well. So you've got to light yourself.
Yeah, so you've got to have
then
lighting
you've also
on
got to
that.
light.
Yeah, because you get shadows and stuff. So you basically got to light yourself from the front.
Yeah.
And any equipment that you got. Then you've got to light the back as well. So you've got to. I mean, I've got massive light rigs down. They're all folded up in my garage, but
yeah,
you know, like what photographers have. These things have got like massive big bulbs and big. They fold out. And they're like, if I ever do proper physical green screens, then all that stuff comes out and it drains all the energy in the house, and goodness knows what it would cost us these days. But
exactly, yeah, it's not something you want to be doing if possible. So you
I found
this virtual green screen.
Yeah, so I was looking at different things, and I went as I do. I just go off and I get these ideas and I do research on it. And there was people talking about using things like these video conferencing tools that I can't remember the name of them, but you know, there's one of them is very popular, and things like Skype
and Zoom, because they've got
sort of
pretend backgrounds, haven't they?
But that's one of the things I looked at was basically talking about using the technology in there. But what you had to do was use that tool and then use OBS to snippet that window into OBS. And I was like, that's a bit naff. So I found an actual software package that does the virtualization green screens.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, I haven't used it for a while, so I can't remember the name of it. But you just run it, and it runs. Your webcam runs through that software, and it puts up a virtual green screen. What you do is you do get some blurry edges around it when you move.
Right.
It kind of knocks out the background, but through that, what I did was I would just take like a picture. I'd find a picture online of a bar or something, and I would go, okay, that's quite cool. It's quite flat. There's no glasses in the way. So I would chop out the actual bar section at the front. So you've got a background, and then you've got the bar in front of it, and then basically put the camera between the two layers. So it looks like I'm standing behind the bar.
Yeah.
Playing records. Now, because it was a virtual green screen, I have to hide the turntables on it.
Yeah.
If you use a physical one, so like how you're standing there, your background could be a bar.
Yeah.
But because if you put a green screen behind you, a physical one, you could actually keep the turntables as they are.
Yeah.
But with a virtual one, the turntables disappear unless you put your hands over them.
Right. Okay. So the virtual one is just going to be sort of my sort of body.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, stuff disappears too much. So But it did a great job, and that's where a lot of the latter of my my streams were done.
Yeah.
So where I was in the coffee shop standing and it was raining outside.
That's brilliant.
Literally a video I ripped off YouTube, and that was me using that virtual green screen.
Yeah, that was amazing. That's definitely one of the standout ones. I think one of the other ones you had, I can't remember what it was for. Maybe it was for Shambra, was where you had the sort of portrait paintings in frames, and the eyes were sort of moving around and stuff.
That one that's actually from Serrano.
Okay,
that's a Serrano bag. So again, from all of the lockdown and DJs doing online streaming and wanting overlays, etc., for OBS and Mixcloud and Facebook, if they ever let you stream, was Serrano actually went away, created all these different overlay collections, and they're still on Serato. So if you've got a Serato account, you can go online and download them all. And they've got the one which is the sort of the country manor, where it's got the animated heads on the portraits that are moving up, bobbing up and down to the music. There's a whole series of them. They've got some concert style stages, and there's a whole stack of stuff on there. That was all free downloads from Serato.
That's cool. That's good to know. I'm sure people will be rushing off to look at that. I'll certainly have a look at that. I remember because I remember my daughter was watching it. I think it was I can't remember. It must have been a Shambra or some early thing, and she loved it, and it's very cool. Cool. So then, obviously, as far as the show, you sort of jumped in, and is there anything particular about the show that you like?
I love the variety and the fact that once I got over the fact that you got to play what you weren't playing to an audience, you were playing in essence for yourself.
Yeah.
Although there's an audience there, it was different to playing a real life gig because you don't actually see anyone. So once I got around that, I think it's great because you get such a mix and variety on the show. So, for example, if I start, I'll play a set and I could do anything from soul and funk to disco to hip hop to whatever nowadays. It's whatever I decide to do on the day, kind of thing. Then we jump to see you'll play through a lot of the new stuff that you've got. You'll play great collection, eclectic mix in terms. You'll jump around. Then we'll go with Fat Wax, who is very similar. He'll pick a couple of records and then just work through the goodness knows how many records he has. Then you might go to Mark Lancaster and he'll play through what he's got, and it's all different. We're not trying to follow each other. We're not trying to do the same. We never play the same stuff.
It's very rare.
That's what I love about it. It's just so you get and the banter that you get in the chat as well.
Yeah, I think that's definitely for me. I mean, I talk quite a lot on the mic, so for me, it's reacting to what people are saying in the chat, and it's good fun because you just don't know what people are going to talk about. One week I think I played some sort of theme tune from some kids show from the 70s or 80s or something, and then we had this whole discussion about that, and it's brilliant just being able to sort of invoke conversation from a record, that otherwise you might not play because you certainly wouldn't play that sort of stuff out necessarily at a gig. But yeah, I think being able to play what you want is one of the keys to it. I saw quite recently you went to a launch of the DJ City shop, and obviously you caught up with Dee. Is Dee someone you knew before, or is she someone you sort of got to know through the 45 Kings?
I knew who Dee was,
right.
And I'd seen Dee perform in the New South Wales DMCs previously.
Yeah,
but I didn't know Dee, so I really met Dee through the 45 Kings. So through the 45 Kings, and just through 45 Kings, we became Facebook friends.
Yeah.
There was a gig that Dee was actually doing in Sydney at Hustle and Flow Bar. And I went, okay, I'm going to go and actually meet you in person.
Yeah.
So I actually went down to the gig and got to actually meet her and Dee in person. And that was it. From there, we've built on that and we support each other, and we're doing some collab stuff at the moment.
Great, sounds brilliant.
Potentially next year might make it onto vinyl, but we'll see what happens. We've not discussed that far yet, but that's my plan.
But it's great, isn't it, that because obviously Sydney's a big city, well, comparatively, but obviously it's great that through the Kings you've sort of been able to meet up in person, and obviously what I saw in the video is her throwing down with 45s, which is brilliant, and in the latest DMC she did 45 set, so it's great to see how it's expanding and going in those sort of directions.
I believe that's the first time ever for 45s on the DMC, which is marvelous. it's also flabbergasting that as long as the DMC's been going, that's the first time that
Yeah,
someone's done 45s. But somebody's done tapes, reel to reel, and someone's
yeah,
done
yeah, 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 yeah.
actual cassettes. But I think that's the first time someone's done 45s. And yeah, look, Dee mentioned it on something in the past week, I believe. But through the 45 Kings, we've all started collecting 45s.
Yeah,
We started building up vinyl collections again. Excuse me.
definitely. Yeah.
I mean, I've got a whole stack up here now that I would never have thought of having necessarily in the past without the 45 Kings. So, yeah, I mean, the camaraderie that you get through it all is brilliant. We're all. It's like us. We're like 10,000 miles apart.
Yeah.
You know, um, but we can still message each other and discuss all that sort of stuff. And it's like that with Dee. It's like you met her online and we talked to her in the chat and all the rest of it, and then meet her in person, and then from there it's just like support each other with gigs and that sort of stuff is just great because you're meeting new people for it. You're meeting friends. It's just and over here in Australia, there's not as many active participants.
Okay.
Is what I'll say. There are members in the group on Facebook, but there's not the high participation on it, as it were. So
Yeah, yeah. I get that.
Dee and myself are looking to actually basically find out how many people are in Sydney, New South Wales in the group, and try and have some meetups where we've
Yeah.
got a venue that we can. It's a record store in Sydney that we can go and potentially have a jam and things like that, and just meet up and have coffee or a beer or whatever people want to do.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I mean, we've done we did a meet up in Swindon with Matt Baylor. We then did London. We've done Edinburgh. We did Glasgow, and it's it's brilliant. And it's almost like it doesn't matter who else is there. It's just great to hang out and meet these people who you've been chatting to for the best part of 2 years in real life. In person, and it's just like meeting old mates. It's
Yeah, I
like
mean that's the thing. It's
yeah,
it's it's kind of bizarre. I always looked at people who met friends online through
yeah,
whatever chat rooms they would be in. I always thought it was a little bit strange,
yeah,
right? Back in the day, it was always a bit sort of strange. Can't you go and
yeah.
meet people in real life? But obviously, the world that we live in now, where we had to be isolated from everybody else, kind of thing, it changed the perception of it all, and it changed the way we basically made friends and coming together through a unified um, platform where
Oh
it's
yeah.
basically 45 records. That's the sort of component that we've all got in common.
I mean,
But
I imagine there must be through COVID and before other groups, for example, I don't know, knitting or book clubs and things like that, where they meet. But I think the difference for us is it's not just sort of chatting on a group or whatever. It's the fact that we put ourselves out there as broadcasters and put ourselves out live, and 100 shows. I haven't done every single one of them, but that's at least whatever 90 hours just on that show that people have sort of been invited into my home and see me. And the
yeah,
same with all the people we see, and then the chat, and then the messaging. So it's all of that put together. So you do sort of know the person before you actually get to meet them in person.
yeah,
That's
absolutely. I mean, it's not
I
you're
mean, what
not
I
just
love
on
about it.
a bulletin board blank test. It's like you're exactly right. It's like you're a TV presenter,
Yeah,
right? And it's you invite whoever into your house, and you you get to know people. So it's like if I play first, people are invited into my house, and we
yeah,
have some banter. Then we go to your house, so it's like I've been invited to your house.
yeah, yeah,
Then we're in Fat Waxes, then we're in Blobs, whatever it is. So yeah, it's a different way. It's not just like on a chat group. You're actually meeting people because you're getting to see them
yeah.
and have a direct interaction live with them. But
and especially, you know, I mean, it's on the shows, obviously, when it's just the person and the chat, but especially when we've had talk shows like this, and obviously you've been on Part of My Journey and other talk shows, and then when, for example, Rob did that thing with Mark Hype and Rick and D, and obviously suddenly then it's like 4 DJs from around the world sort of
Yeah,
interacting and scratching. You know, it's been really interesting what sort of come out of it, and what will come out of it, because you know there's plenty more scope for potential as to what, you know, what we can do. I think we're just at the start, really, of what we can do with this, but we just have to see how it goes.
I just need more money to be able to do things properly. That's what
More
it is.
more money and more time. I need
And
more
more time.
time. Yeah, yeah. Money's one thing, but I need more time. If I had more time, if I had like a 2 days off a week from work, then you know I could sort of hunker down and work out all these crazy concepts I've got going around my head.
Yeah,
But it will happen. It will happen.
I mean, I'd love to have that, like what um, Rick and that did. You know, joining Germany, Australia, and then
Yeah, yeah,
having the 4 of them up. And what my vision for coffee and donuts and any of these stream shows would be that we don't have any drop in the show. Right.
yeah,
My vision for that would always be the continuity between DJ changeovers. So you should, in essence, have it where it's like we come up like this, and you finished your show, and then it's like right, we're going to go over here. You have a quick make sure everyone's right, and then you go. Or if there's an issue, you can pull somebody else into a kind of scenario, but it costs money to do it.
yeah. It's a tricky one, because I have spoken to Rob, and obviously we could potentially use StreamYard. It's just a case of having someone running it all the time. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
that's part of the issue, because obviously at the moment I do, you know, you do your set or I do my set, and then the next DJ, and we've got it set up. Yeah, that I agree. There is this drop between DJs. It's not as bad as it used to be. It's pretty seamless most of the time now, but there is definitely a drop in between each set, because it goes offline for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it is. The only thing with StreamYard is obviously someone has to run it at one end and be there throughout and bring it on. But we'll work it out. We'll work something out.
yeah. I mean,
It may be that.
that's just me wanting to run it like a television channel. You know, it's,
Well, I think that's the way it's going, and
yeah,
you know, we certainly with big events like at the moment, there's Raiders of the Lost Ark going on, which is, you know, 3 days. Coffee and Donuts, the 100th show, is going to follow on from a 24-hour raid thing I'm doing, and then we're hopefully going into Ace of Raid. So again, it's starting to sort of
yeah,
be like a channel, but on different people's channels, and just being sort of like, right, okay, so this is this week's raid, or this is this day's raid, or event, you know, and sort of chopping and changing, because it's become a bit like an online festival. And it's where we take that next. I've got a few ideas, but obviously it involves lots of people, and lots of people being happy to interact in that way. um but there's a lot of collaboration on Twitch. That's what I love. You know, people are always keen to get involved in raid events, collaborate. Okay, that's a
yeah.
cool idea. Let's run with it and see what happens. You know, there's none of this. There, it doesn't seem to be this, right? Well, this is my thing. Don't come near it, or you know, you can't do that because it's on the same day as my event, or you know, there doesn't seem to be any of that going on, which is good. I mean, that might change, but you know, so far it's been
No,
pretty good.
it's. I mean, excuse me. You do have some people that'll be like that, but that's life. You always get that.
Yeah,
But the thing with it is that what fascinates me with it is the fact that you can have Joe Blogs, nobody like me DJing, and then you'll get someone like Flip Out,
yeah,
um, Shotcut. You know,
yeah, yeah,
these like people that I look up to and stuff. That well, you see them come in the chat.
yeah,
Like, I mean, it doesn't happen a great deal, but you know, you see them come in, even like
yeah,
Mojax and stuff. You know, you're just sort of like, wow, this is you know, people are seeing this and people are doing stuff. And it was like one day Rob had Qbert cutting over the top of
that's right.
one of the
Yeah,
shows and things like that. You know, so it's it's great because you can do what you want on the shows.
yeah,
And in terms of musically, you're not tied to. There's enough people out there banging out techno and house and doing their things. You know,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
there's lesser people doing vinyl shows. So
Yeah, and it's I think it's difficult to know if it's growing and people are doing more vinyl, or whether we're just finding more people who are doing it. You know, there's clearly lots of pockets of people playing vinyl here, there, and everywhere, but it's great bringing them into what we're doing and going into their events and sort of, you know, cross collaborating. But yeah, no, it's been really good. And so yeah, 2 years, and and you're kicking off the 100th show. I obviously don't want to give away any secrets, but have you got like a planned overlay ready for that? I'm probably going to do a little banner like we did for the 3-year thing. But
I got some new slip mats.
you got some new slip mats. Are they 45 Kings ones though? Are they like these ones, or
No,
are they the Dusty Donuts ones?
no.
No. Okay, cool. We will wait and see then.
I got new slip mats especially for the event.
Oh, brilliant.
I don't know if I'm going to do. I probably won't do overlays on it.
Okay.
In terms of, I probably won't do any backgrounds or anything. I might put up some animations.
Cool. Yeah.
I might throw up some animation stuff. But only if people are going to do, if someone subscribes or something like that.
Nice. Yeah, that's
and
a good.
I actually see it on the screen, because I normally miss all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've got my big donut behind me that you don't normally see on the stream, but you'll see it this time.
Cool. Well, it's going to be the start of, so Coffee and Donuts is 12 hours. So it's going to be a big old show, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we've got some guests we've got some good guests on there. You know, the lineup will be coming out soon. I've got to do the flyers for the 24-hour, but we'll be rolling from a 24-hour show into that. So hopefully there'll be, you know, raiders coming in from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then hopefully Sideshow Mall's sorting out Ace of Raids, which will be after Coffee and Donuts, and all being well, we might have 45 hours of 45s. That's the plan. We've got 24, 12, 36, and then it's just if Sideshow can sort out that last 9, which hopefully we'll do. We've definitely got 38 hours.
Play for 9 hours.
Yeah, he might
squeeze it now.
He might do. But Dave, it's been a pleasure as always. Thanks so much for talking with us, and thank you so much for being a big part of the show. And I really look forward to your set. It's going to be great.
I look forward to actually meeting a few of you in
in
the near future.
Yeah, it's not long. And it'll be great to see you in this hemisphere for in real life. And we'll definitely share a beer or coffee or something
absolutely.
when you come down. Cool. All right, Dave, take it easy, mate. I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, mate. See you later.